The following presentation is brought to you by the College of St. Benedict, St. John's University, and the Donald McNeely Center for Entrepreneurship. Introducing the Entrepreneurial Leadership Series for Thursday, May 10th, 2007. Featuring keynote speaker Stephanie Wolf, 1975 alumni of the College of St. Benedict and CEO of SportsMind. Introductions by Marianne Benninger, President of the College of St. Benedict.
As both of our institutions, College of St. Benedict and St. John's University, celebrate the 150th anniversary of Benedictine education, we can't help but be reminded of the courage, the vision, and the values that our founders have routinely modeled and taught us. Our alums often cite their interaction with the monastic communities as life-changing. Today, our speaker, Stephanie Wolf, is another example of a student who has been touched by our faculty and the monastic community with an impact that has lasted for decades. The name Sister Cathan Colhane easily comes to mind for Stephanie when she recalls who had a profound influence on her. The ongoing encouragement, "Get going, you can do this, let's make something important happen," still resonates for her as she tackles new endeavors and encourages others. Stephanie Wolf epitomizes the Benedictine character that is central to our missions, as well as the strength and the conviction that define the St. Ben's woman and graduates of both of our schools. Stephanie is a pioneer, an entrepreneur, a mentor, and a builder of community. She was a pioneer in establishing systems of community-based therapy for men at a probation offenders rehabilitation treatment center. She's an entrepreneur as the CEO of SportsMind, a consulting and training firm for clients like AT&T, Microsoft, Nike, and the U.S. Army Special Forces. SportsMind focuses on developing leaders and mobilizing teams. Stephanie is a mentor. Just as she was mentored by Sister Cathan Colhane, Stephanie has hosted 3 groups of our e-scholars, including Megan Zinkin this past summer as an intern. Stephanie's here to share her story with you today, and she came from California to do that, not from 15 minutes away in the Twin Cities, which is not to discourage anyone who's close by who wants to do the same thing, but her commitment of taking several days and attending graduation with us shows you what kind of a mentor she wants to be to our students. In September, Stephanie will be the first alumna in residence at a new program in St. Ben's, where she'll interact with students, Bennies and Johnnies, inside and outside the classroom. Stephanie is even a mentor in the formation of companies, and the most recent is Proportion of Blue, and I hope that she'll tell us just maybe a little bit about that, but it's a fashion denim company that was recently featured in Vogue, and the jeans are on sale actually here in Minneapolis, but in Barney's in New York, and in fact all over the world. But Proportion of Blue helped fulfill the dream of a daughter of a friend of Stephanie's. Stephanie's a builder of community. Like our capital campaign celebrates, Stephanie's place in the world is one of inspiration and transformation at a personal and professional level for herself and for others. She's driven to make a difference and help others find their passion. And she certainly doesn't define success as simply earning a profit. Success is leading with character, making a significant difference in the lives of others and the communities of which she's a part. And I'd add to the list friend. I've had the honor of getting to know Stephanie over the past couple of years, and as our staff at St. Ben's will know, we instantly clicked, and I consider her to be one of my friends and certainly one of my mentors as well. I'm very honored to introduce our speaker today, Stephanie Wolf.
It's almost as good as if my mother had done that. This is my mom. I hope you guys all get a chance to meet her. She should be commended today, because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. And she got 2 of us through St. Ben's, so got 2 or 3 jobs. Yeah. It's really a special day. Normally when I'm up in front of a group, I have a magic marker, I have a flip chart, I'm asking lots of questions, and I get lots of response. Today I'm going to talk for just 17 minutes, I promise. But what I need to do to make this work for me, and I hope work for you, is really to try and connect with everyone in this room. So if I'm talking about something that's clicking with you, will you please give me some encouragement and, kind of, if something really, put your hand up. If I say something really profound, I'd like an amen, sister, or, because it's boring just to give a speech, and it's boring just to sit and listen to someone. So, amen. Yay, all right. Okay, because what I want to do today is have some fun, because I'm talking about something that I'm really passionate about. I could tell you all about my life history, but first of all, like most entrepreneurs, I just sort of ended up here. I didn't, grow up going, God, I'm going to start a company or have a company or whatever, but I just happened to be at the right time, and I was prepared, and I think prepared so well by the people in this room. So I had prepared these comments that said, thank you, Megan, and thank you, Marianne, and Joel, and Terry, and all the entrepreneurial students that come, because the day that they come, it's the best day of my business career, that whole day. You guys are such an inspiration. I should also tell you, and you probably understand, it's really a privilege for us to all be here. I know that my friends who went to UC or USC and Stanford and wherever, they're jealous, not just envious, they're jealous that I have this kind of relationship with my college. It is so rare. And to walk in this room normally and deliver a speech, you'd have butterflies in your stomach and be a little nervous, and I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm home. Amen. All right. Okay. So my job today is to share with you what I think is really my big idea, the idea that I think is most important. It's the gem from my journey in the business world. And I'd like to do that by first defining what I would call a foundational principle of business success and personal satisfaction I'm calling taking a stand, being your stand in life. And I'll make the case for why I think it's so important, both personally and professionally. And thirdly, I'll share with you some new research that demonstrates its value to each of us. But I have to circle back to where it all started for me, and that was at St. Ben's and, of course, at St. John's. And it was 1973. And I showed up in the summer, and I met my college advisor, my first mentor, Sister Kathleen Culhane. Now, if any of you knew her, she was truly an original. Amen. Yeah. I know that you did. She was like no other teacher, advisor, or mentor that I've ever had in my life, and she was tough. She was tough in that from the Bronx, no nonsense, get up and get on with your life kind of way. But she was amazing. And she was amazing because she was a stand for having young women live up to their greatest potential. So today and this weekend, as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Sisters and Brothers of St. Benedict, let us be in really deep, deep appreciation to them. Amen. Their stand to live by the rule of St. Benedict and bring the very best liberal arts college in the Catholic tradition brings over 125 of us together today, 150 years later. Okay? That commitment and dedication that tends to an important concern in the world is what I call a stand. Like many of you in this room, I've had a career that runs the gamut from the world of nonprofit to the glamour of launching a designer denim company. And what do all these vast and various endeavors have in common? Well, they all come out of my stand, that I live up to my highest potential and that I help others to do the same. In my company, SportsMind, we've seen it time and time again that when a leader, their team, or their organization knows what's really important to them, when they take action from their stand, they are unstoppable. Amen. Yeah, thank you. And more importantly, their success comes with a deep sense of personal satisfaction that is really beautiful to watch as it unfolds. So I'm fortunate that I'm able to live my stand by helping others shape and live theirs. So I was asked by one of my business partners if I could take his daughter under my wing if I could just kind of look at the business a little bit. And I met Tara Wick and everyone at the Proportion of Blue, her co-designer, Richard Atkins. I could clearly see her passion, her integrity, and her commitment. And her stand is to make the most beautiful, architecturally inspired fashion using an ancient mystery, the golden ratio. And the result of her stand and the result of my stand, along with her father, the designers, everyone on this project, is in Vogue this last month. Okay. I just have to do this. My mother said I did, so. My mother, who's my #1 coach. Anyway, we're in Vogue, and here we are, and it's all in the numbers. But if you have a fashion company, this is really it. And I tell you that it comes out of taking a stand, because were some moments that I just thought, oh God, we're never going to make this happen. It's just really not going to happen. And somebody on the team stood up and said, yes, we are. We're going to go for it. It was absolutely amazing. And if you happen to want a pair of jeans, just run down to In Toto Boutique, I have to do commercial, and pick up a pair. And if you can't find them, just call me. They're really, yeah, you'll be sitting on an ancient secret. All right. So answering the question, what is my stand? I think is the most important business. It's the fundamental career and business question we can ask ourselves and keep asking ourselves. It starts with the questions that Sister Catherine asks constantly. Who are you going to be? It's really fun the way she did it. And what is it that really matters to you? And what difference are you going to make in the world? And I can still hear her asking me those questions. They have stayed with me 33 years later. Now, these are much deeper questions than the one we most often ask ourselves, like, what's my major? What's the best profession? What's the best career move? Where am I going to work? They're deeper questions. Creating your stand is really thinking deeply about your life to find out that cause or concern or need in the world that you are passionate about attending to, and then staking your life on your capacity to make a difference. Now, we claim that being a stand is essential to having power and dignity and clarity and focus, and most importantly, satisfaction in life. It's a deep, life-shaping declaration that you make that announces to the world what you care about, that leads you to do what you will dedicate your life to. Now, it comes out of a desire to make a difference in the world, but it also serves as your guidepost, your North Star, your touchstone, so that you can resolve all of those really difficult questions that are going to come up all the time. What do I do now? What is the right thing to do in this situation? And what is the priority now? So you may be asking yourself, well, that's nice, but what does that have to do with entrepreneurship and leadership? Well, to be successful in today's world, we, my partners and I at SportsMind, believe that we need to move from an old common sense to a new common sense about career success. The old common sense, which is Webster's definition of success, meant simply accumulating fame, wealth, and power. And not that there's anything intrinsically wrong in that definition. I happen to like all of that myself. But what we're finding out, and many of you who are my contemporaries and comrades in this room know that without meaning, that's the booby prize. It sets people up for struggle, regret, feeling empty, and a sense of failure more often than not. And this is evidenced time and time again by the tragic stories our celebrities give us, almost it seems like an unending daily supply. Now, the reason I know about this is because that's how it was for me at one point, okay? And it is a very common conversation that I have with my friends and successful executives who happen to be my clients. It's a lot of conversation like, I wish I had been a surgeon. I wish I had started a nonprofit. I wish I had done what really mattered to me. Here I am. It's too late. What am I going to do? Well, chasing this common kind of sense, this common sense of success often means, as Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, said so brilliantly, hey, we spend our health gaining our wealth, and then our wealth to regain our health. If we can. But it also fuels midlife crisis, family breakdowns, and a whole host of other afflictions when our heart and our spirit are not in our work. So let's look at some of the workplace consequences of the old common sense. Does anybody know how many people in America right now express satisfaction on the job? Anybody want to take a guess? Okay. Only, what?
40.
Yeah, it's 50% of people just say only 50% of the people that are working today in your company or beside you at the company that you're in are expressing satisfaction. And when you ask how many people are really satisfied, it drops to 14%. Okay? That 66% of the workers today, and we're not talking blue collar workers, we're talking across the board. Okay, 66% of the people on the job today really don't feel motivated to drive their employer's business goals or objectives. That's 2 out of 3 people who are working feel no compunction to push the agenda of the people who are providing them an opportunity for work. Okay? Only 25% of people, okay, are just showing up to collect a paycheck. That's 1 out of 4 people on the job. And when they asked how many people, how many strong leaders are there, how many supervisors, that are really inspirational, it drops down to less than 30%. I don't know about you, but those statistics are really staggering when you think about that's what we're faced with in the workforce. Totally across the board. It's how most employees or your colleagues, the people that you have to work with, manage, or lead, feel and act. And how do we get there? Well, the old common sense comes out of a time when the world was different, back when I was a kid. But when we read about the number of statistics, the number of businesses that fail each year, and that number is high, or the stories that we hear about people who have been downsized, who have lost their pensions, who haven't been taken care of, then we tap into what went before us. And that is really the concerns of our safety-conscious parents, our institutions of higher learning, and every other well-meaning advisor in our life who has said to us, play it safe and play it sure. And what I'm here to tell you, the great paradox is that what looks safe and sure is no longer safe or sure. All right, consider this. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the majority, 79% of college freshmen in 1970 had an important personal objective of, quote, developing a meaningful philosophy of life. And by 2005, the majority of freshmen, 75%, said their primary objective was being well off financially. And why is that? It's not because they care less, okay? I know that, okay? I think that young people that I meet, I work with, the kids that come to visit me, they care just as much or more. And they need, and we need, to be in this conversation, the conversation about what really matters. We absolutely cannot afford to have money, power, or celebrity be the driving force or have the media declare what is important. That's why we in this room, those of us that are successful, those of us that know the ropes, those of us who have been around the block, we need to be saying more. We need to be asking a lot better questions. We need to be providing guidance. We need to be mentors. We need to be partners. We need to be guides about being a stand. And here's the simple truth. This is the stuff people don't tell you. That people who don't know what they stand for or never declare themselves in the world are constantly overwhelmed, confused, left behind, or they're spending their life getting ready. They're ruled by their emotions, they're swayed by the latest and the greatest of everything, and these lives tend to focus on their wants, their needs, their desires, and they are missing bigger opportunities of truly being in the world. This is not the way that we're going to realize the potential and the power that each of us have been given. And as I can delightfully say in this room, each of us have been God-given. So let's look at a new basis, a new approach, a new kind of conversation, a new kind of common sense that reflects the value and the significance of being a Stan. A good friend of mine, who I also consider my mentor, Stuart Emery, who is considered to be one of the godfathers of the human potential movement, along with his co-authors, Mark Thompson, who was a protege of Charles Schwab and is one of the world's greatest investors and interviewers, publisher, and Jerry Porras, who is a professor at Stanford, wrote this amazing book called Success Built to Last, Creating a Life That Matters. And I really, really recommend this. It's just an amazing book. And a lot of the ideas that I'm talking about today and the research came from this book. So they interviewed over 200 of the world's most successful people. I mean, it's a who's who list. There's Quincy Jones, there's Bono, Senator John McCain, Nelson Mandela, Madeleine Albright, the Dalai Lama, Sir Richard Branson, Charles Schwab, Warren Buffett, hands down the world's most successful people from every single walk of life. And we're not just talking about a flash in the pan kind of success, we're talking about people who have enduring success, 20 years or more. Well, when I read the book, I was totally ecstatic. I was jumping for joy because it provided the qualitative and the quantitative research that so many of us have known in our hearts, that you should do what you love instead of trying to love what you do. They found, wrote, and proved so beautifully corroborates what I'm saying, that being your stand, what they call having alignment on meaning, on right action, and right thoughts, is what has people take risks, make sacrifices, and be more concerned about doing what they love than being loved. When interviewed for the book, Larry Bossidy, the former CEO of Honeywell, and Allied Signal, and the author of the business bestseller Execution, said, hey, passion is a competitive imperative. Only by loving what you do will you do more, better, and longer than the person sitting next to you. And to be successful, let alone survive in a global economy, we can't afford to be half-hearted about anything. And as Stuart has said many times, it's dangerous not to do what you love. Now, I know this firsthand from the years doing corporate change work, that the people on the front line in the businesses, they want to work for someone who knows what matters to them because they want to make a difference. Okay? And since most talented people are really paid volunteers when it comes down to it, don't you know that? Yeah, absolutely. You know, you cannot feed them just simply profit goals and market share. It won't work. It's not enough. It's not enough for them. Okay? They're crying for leadership that makes the work meaningful, and they want the relationships to be important. And here's it. If you don't give it to them, they're going to go someplace and look in search of it to see if they can't find it. Here's another reason we have to really be serious about this. Another dimension is that we spend so much of our time and we put forward so much of ourselves into our work and career. Let's make it mean something. And everyone here knows that when you take on something big, like starting a business, taking on a major corporate initiative, solving a social cause, you know, there are nights. There are long nights, and there are dark nights of the soul in those endeavors. So if it doesn't have meaning, and if it's not deeply satisfying, 50 years at work, that's a really long time to suffer. 25 years ago, when my comrades and I were just starting our careers, this wasn't a public conversation. We didn't talk about things like this. We were busy working out things like women in the workplace, But now that we have that handled, all right, I couldn't help myself. Yeah, we do. We pretty much do. I mean, we have things we have to work out yet, but I am happy to report that last year, women received more professional degrees than men for the first time in our history.
Good.
Yeah, and the second thing is we also booked more airline travel miles last year than men. And that is truly the statistic that really matters, right? Yeah. All right, I lost my place for just a second. All right, so now with those issues handled, it's time to speak the common sense that we all know instinctively, and we all know it intuitively, that when we do what matters to us, everything works, especially us. Now, many of us have tried to love what we do, and we didn't know that we could do what we loved. So that's why I'm a preacher of the gospel. Consider business my church. And I'm in deep gratitude to Stuart and to Mark and to Jerry for bringing the evidence and their massive authority to the issue. And obviously people want to engage in the conversation because the book has made every business bestseller list, the Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, along with the best of Amazon, the best of Leadership Now, and the best of 800 CEO read. As Brigadier General Clara Adams Endler, retired, so aptly put it, you can survive without loving it, but you will be second rate. To spend part of your career not knowing why you're there will take your power away. And that, simply put, is why being a stand is so important. So as I wrap it up today, I want to make an offer to you, and that is, out of my stand, to help you develop your stand, design your life, and expand your potential, if you will email me, and I've left little business cards on the table with my email address, I will send you a 16-page paper that we have about being a stand in life. There are 6 pages of questions that can really help you think through the issues, and I'm happy to talk with or meet with anybody that wants to determine what their next steps might be. And you should know that there's really no right way to start or embark on the journey because it's your journey. And the process is not just for your career. It's really valuable for education, family, health, finances, spirituality. Many of the people in this room are interested about philanthropy. It's never too late or too early to have a happy life, one that's filled with meaning. So we know that declaring your stand is often a very transformational process. We're not recommending that you change your life necessarily or your career, but if you're not fully engaged and passionate, you might find a different perspective, one that brings you more meaning and more joy. And sometimes it's not so much a change of the person, but one of those kind of aha moments that changes your perspective. And as we all know, that can change everything. Now, no one would expect a house to stand the winds of time if it were built on a shaky foundation. And no one would go out and build a skyscraper without a blueprint. And that's exactly what I'm proposing. That you bring the idea of conscious design and redesign to your career and the next important domain in your life. If you're looking for greater performance, as a person, as a team, as an organization, when people live their stand, it is totally possible. Charisma, risk-taking, power, drive, they're not the traits of the gifted few, but rather the byproducts when we ordinary people living our stands extraordinarily. If you need to have a virtual organization, get everybody aligned and passionate, it can really happen. And when you're clear about what is important, then developing your talent is what you devote yourself to wholeheartedly. In closing, I want to share with you the reason I speak so passionately about this issue is that 10 years ago, we thought that living your stand was really a luxury. But now I know the truth. It's a necessity. It's a necessity to discovering your own individual secret code for a life of meaning and deep satisfaction. So now I'm way better at answering questions than making speeches, so if you guys can fire away, and we can talk about your stand, about organizational change, and of course my favorite topic, designer denim.
what can St. John's and St. Ben's do to nurture passionate leaders?
I think there's a few things. One is that we need to start having this conversation. That those that are leadership, we need to be in the field, we need to be doing more mentoring, more conversation, more talking about what it's really like. And then I also think there are basics of leadership, there are basics of management, of coordination and action, like from my business that we teach corporations, and I've been talking with these guys like, let's start teaching our college freshmen and have 4 years so that they're ready. They're not waiting until some company has the opportunity to give them the hands-on training. And that's what we're looking to provide. And I think it would be really great. We could do it in such a way that it could be proven, it could be a competitive recruiting. I mean, people could be really ready to go.
What skills and goals would you want to set for a 3-year-old girl to be able to do what you've done?
That's a really great question. Well, first of all, I should say she should have a dad like you. Yeah, she should have a dad like you. I was really lucky. I had parents who basically said, like Sister Catherine, not exactly in that really loving, encouraging kind of way, but get up, get going, and you can make it happen. And then I've been a seeker to do that. But I think it's really important that we start to have straight conversations with our kids and with adults, and that we start to have that to say, I wasn't perfect, and here's what you can do, and here's how to speak from the heart. I think that's really, really important. And also, I think, other women should be available to other women. It's one of the reasons I love it when the students come, is to say, hey, here's what's really happening. When I was there, they gave us a book that said, Games Mother Never Taught You. But my mentor, I had 3 or 4 men who really took me, kind of under their wing, by the arm, and said, hey, this is how the game is played. This is how to look at this. Don't be concerned about that. Focus on these issues. And you know what? I have never found that kind of advice in any Harvard Business Review article or any management or leadership book. It's perspective. So I think really, one other thing I would say is that you get your friends to also help your daughters, both men and women, because there are certain conversations you just can't have from your parents. And there are certain things your parents can tell you that you'll listen and, you go, oh, Mom, you're such a, and then the person next to you tells them and they go, God, that was brilliant. I couldn't believe it,
Can only women sit on an ancient secret?
No. I mean, this is how crazy we are. Everyone says you launch a women's line. We went, no, we're launching both men and women simultaneously. They go, that's crazy. No, we have men's jeans and women's jeans. And this fall, look for our cashmere sweaters. And I mean, the clothes are totally amazing. Thanks. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Special thanks to Stephanie Wolf. Renaissance Promotional Group. The Entrepreneurial Leadership Series sponsor, Mansion Partners, Value Investment Specialists. Additional funding provided by Faegre and Benson, Fruth Jameson and Elsa, Merrill Lynch, M-Space, Cressa Partners, Steiner Development Incorporated, Tonka Bay Equity Partners, Excelsior, Thomas R. Hoker and Associates Incorporated. Production services provided by Quarter Ton Productions Incorporated.